people call me a right winger now because I've stayed on the left. I'm a critic of the Democratic Party from the left. I'm a critic of the Republican Party from the left. I'm a critic of Joe Biden and Donald Trump from the left.
That's a right winger.
And I'm for free speech. I'm against censorship. I'm anti-war, and I'm for Medicare for all. And I'm pro-union. And that somehow makes me a right winger now because
extreme right wing.
Extreme because the Democrats are for censorship. The Democrats are they're pro-war. The Democrats are for breaking unions. They did it with the railroad strikes. What else they're against healthcare? They had complete control of government, didn't do a goddamn thing. And now they're actually taking the Medicare and stuff away and tax credits and everything that they gave people during COVID, taking it all away. So anyway, Kyle Kulinski used to talk like me and we used to be on the same, and then something happened. I don't know what. It's a mystery. It's a real mystery.
Whatever it is would turn your hair white if you knew.
But so I think our pal Joe, I think, put this together. I have to double check who put this video together. But I want to play it for you now because this is what people think I did. People think I started saying something I didn't believe for money. I've stayed consistent. It's guys like this, the Democratic apologists, the Cenk Uygurs, the MSNBC contracts, the Kyle Kulinskis, those types of people.
I don't think they think that. I think that they know that you didn't, and they're saying that because that's how it's done.
No, but there's a lot of people who do hear people like that say it and then believe it.
Yeah.
Right. Just go on Facebook. Right.
I don't.
Me neither. My friend made a mistake. We went to dinner and he posted a picture of us at dinner, and boy, did he. He did not know what he got into. But anyway, let's watch this.
The former Soviet Union and other authoritarian dictatorial regimes. We're really talking about.
So can I just stop it? I know I stopped it too quickly. Can I just say that the position I've had always on this show is that I'm not triggered by Donald Trump because he's a game show host. I'm triggered by a system that made people so desperate that they were willing to vote for a guy who was game show host who didn't even appear to want the job in the first place. So I get triggered by the system that is so corrupt that they're beyond the pale for voting for them. They're both criminally against the voter and the worker. And so I don't get triggered by Trump, and Trump's a distraction. So that's what we've said. That's what Kyle used to say. So now he says this.
The former Soviet Union and other authoritarian dictatorial regimes. We're really talking about other people being dictatorial, and Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. As bad as Biden is, you guys are significantly worse, and it's not even close. The Democrats are just way better. They're just way better. They're a trillion times better than Republicans.
All right, so there's a lot I have to say in response to this. These kinds of criticisms from this guy, I honestly believe that these people usually overstate how bad Trump is, and they understate how bad Biden is. Well, you're more ideologically in agreement with Biden than you are in agreement with Trump. Well, actually, when it comes to the First Step Act, I agree with Trump on that. When it comes to pardoning Alice Johnson, I agree with Trump on that. When it comes to TPP, Trump's against it, Biden's for it. I agree with Trump on that. I agree more with Trump on North Korea than I agree with Biden. I would need to be convinced that Biden would fight for at least one or two of my top 5 issues. Medicare for all, free college, living wage, ending the wars, and UBI. The people who say Trump is a fascist and they think he's like, basically, we can't survive another 4 years of America with him. Yes. The country will survive 4 years with Trump. The country will survive 4 years with Joe Biden. Again, I think they understate how bad Biden is. Why? On so many core issues, he's against us. Me, at least. I can't speak for this guy. Joe Biden pushed for NAFTA. He repeatedly pushed for TPP. He's a supporter of the Iraq War. On all the pivotal issues of his time, he was wrong. So stop overstating how bad Trump is. The country's still going to exist in 4 years. And understating how bad Biden is. Because it's annoying. I just don't agree with the people who are like, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, the country's not going to exist in 4 years. You're hyperbolic and you're ridiculous.
Oh! You got knocked the fuck
out, man. So remember all those old jokes about blondes being dumb because their hair bleach seeps in through their scalp and into their brain? I think it's time to stop making those jokes. We should stop making those jokes, Kurt, and start researching this very real medical problem.
Yeah. The lighter it gets, the worse it gets.
It's kind of unbelievable. Blonde Kyle does make a fair point, though. For example, if you're a huge AOC fan like I am, you know Democrats are a trillion times better on important issues like sunscreen.
And Kyle's using the good kind.
I'm mostly impressed with how Crystal in this, right?
Yeah.
Because she's a successful working mom who still finds time to homeschool Kyle, which is amazing. A zillion billion times better. Wow, Kyle, that's a lot of time. Yeah, and also Trump is really bad, and then we went to Legoland, and then I got my booster, and then I got ice cream. Gosh, Kyle, it sounds like you had a big boy day today. I see you got your hair colored too. I like turtles.
Kyle turned into the I Like Turtles kid.
He turned into the I Like Turtles kid. I should have put that video in there. Crystal seems to be in the background saying, as if to say, I'm proud of you, sweetie. You worked hard on your speaking assignment and showed a lot of improvement. Okay, time for your bath.
Healthy praise.
I wonder if Crystal approves of his vaping. Do you think she leaves it alone, or does she gently nag him with the WEF style nudges? You know, like does she close his bank account down until he collapses and stops vaping? I can't wait for Kyle to team up with AOC on TikTok and address the important issues of Europe having better quality hair dye than us. Anyway, I don't think I've enjoyed a video more in my entire life than watching that video. It's hard. It's right. It's certainly up there.
It's the transformation is shocking.
It is jarring. It is jarring what a phony that guy turned into, and the people who do that. He resisted Trump derangement syndrome, and then something happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Here's what people say: had the nerve to ever say hyperbolic and ridiculous, and then turn himself into that.
He looks like Beach Ken from the Barbie movie.
He had the nerve to say hyperbolic and ridiculous, and then he turns himself into it. Exactly. I didn't realize those two men are the same guy. Wow, what a change! Also, all of those criticisms of Joe predated all that laptop and diary revelations.
That's a great point.
That's before we knew that Joe Biden was corrupt in bed with Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine and China. That's before we knew that, for sure.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's popping, my friends, my family? Welcome back to the Nick and CJ Show. That video was a classic. I sent it to Jimmy, and he said he couldn't wait to cover it on this show. It was, it's one of the most damning clips that you can find. And the professional managerial class, they were making asses of themselves recently. Jacobin has an article that you covered where they are doing their best to defend AOC because the Justice Democrats' money ran dry. And now you have the article that we're going to cover today where they say, don't vote for Dr. Cornel West or you waste your vote. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I read it quickly earlier, but Tom Hartman wrote that, didn't he?
Nick, I had read that entire article, not knowing that Tom Hartman wrote it until about 2 hours ago. And I'm like, Tom Hartman? Because Tom Hartman is the vein that I got to left politics. Everybody else went through TYT, Jimmy. I didn't do none of that. I went through radio first. So I was
Yeah.
listening to Tom Hartman, and this guy is completely
Trump
not
broke
the
his
person.
brain. Like,
Exactly.
If you want to know what I mean when I say Trump derangement syndrome, look up Tom Hartman. That's literally him. David Pacman, Keith Olbermann.
Yes.
I think those are like three of the
Yes.
best examples
Top
of
ones,
people who
top ones.
used to like sound somewhat progressive, and then this Trump happened, and they said we're gonna be straight up deep state Democratic Party propagandists now. And that happened to Kyle, and what Jimmy brought up was funny because that happened when Biden became president, fam. And he reversed on Trump after Trump left office. How does that make sense? So, it makes sense to be at the height of your Trump derangement syndrome, at least when Trump was president, right? You know what I mean? When he was committing genocide in Yemen, when he was trying to overthrow Venezuela, when he was escalating war with China, when he was doing all these things, it makes sense for Kyle to have Trump derangement syndrome, but he was smart enough back then to call out Russiagate. And you saw earlier, he hated how people overstated how bad Trump was and understate how bad people like Joe Biden was. And then you flip when Biden takes office in government and people think that's anything other than corruption. Like people think that's anything other than calculated access journalism. Maybe Kyle's wife, Crystal, gave him the order. You know what I mean? You can't convince me that's a legitimate change. Like we all had legitimate change. I explain my background. You explain your background. We have people on our show explain their background. You can see the logic in the progression, right? There's no logic in the progression that you see the former Bernie Sanders people. And in the last 2 to 3 years, we have seen the Bernie movement openly and unapologetically sell out. Now they are advocating voting against one of their brothers. One of their kin, fam. You gotta know that Dr. Cornel West was on the front line of the Bernie campaign. Friends with all these people. He not RBN. They hate RBN. Dr. Cornel West was their brother. Bernie Sanders' good friend. And now they're writing articles about how voting for him is wasting your vote. The most blatant, most telling, I'll pass it to you, CJ, most telling sellout in politics. So like who been a bigger sellout than this? And people wonder why RBN laser focused on this. Why I call these people out, because I was part of this movement at one point when I was part of the Bernie team. When we thought this was actually a political revolution. And you see this old quote from Kyle, the guy who funded Just the Democrats. We wasn't crazy. Like we wasn't following the wrong direction. These people lied to us. They committed political fraud. The Kyle, LC, Bernie Sanders, they said different stuff back then. They switched today. But Kyle, CJ, I saw you. I know you want to chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a lot there. Even in that video, I would love to have talk to this guy during the stream, or just have 15 minutes with him to ask him questions, literally just about that video. What has happened? What has happened? Because think about it. Think about all the professional managerial class left who we thought was radical at a point, Cenk Uygur. Right? Then all of a sudden, Mehdi Hasan. A lot of people don't forget. Mehdi Hasan used to be a lot further left than he is now. Then when they get that corporate check, Nick, then when they marry into corporate money, because this is my theory on the whole thing, is that your politics, I'm not going to say that. His politics clearly shifted to the right, as did Crystal Ball's politics shifted to the right. Because if you go back and look at her Hill videos, those videos are to the left of what she talks about right now. So you have to ask yourself, why the move to the left? What is the professional managerial class all about?
This is what it's about, CJ. Well,
positions. This is about jobs, Nick. This is about positions. This is about getting promotions. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to touch upon that article again if we have time. I do want to read a couple of parts.
You covered it, but I didn't get a chance to react it on.
Exactly. I do want to cover it again. So that was my part.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll pass it to you, but I have a few parts I clipped out of it as well. So you can finish your thought, but I brought this up because the professional managerial class lost their fucking mind But go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off, but finish your thought.
No, but I mean, just in general, like, and to another point, this is a clear panic, Nick. This is clearly panic setting in. So we see the panic setting in on the establishment, the ruling class establishment about a third party. But what you're seeing as a panic set in is with the Bernie Sanders industrial complex, media complex with them, because they're realizing they don't have the influence they used to have. They're realizing, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? And now I'm going to pat ourselves on the back, RBN Jimmy, because if you don't think when they say popular YouTube commentaries, they're talking about us. Our influence. Go ahead, Nick. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna see if I can find this later. Someone sent me this. Some media organization made a list of all these networks, and we was on them, and they're like, they're a propaganda network. So we made this list of all these giant, like they were ranking all the media shows, like Russell Brand, Jimmy Dore, MSNBC shows on there, and they were ranking them according to how much they repeat propaganda. Someone sent it to me on my DMs. I may put it up later if I feel like doing a segment on it. But to your point, they are exactly talking about us, because in this article they even reference quote unquote YouTube hosts that have criticism because they're trying to get clicks and views. Right? They're talking about Jimmy because obviously he's the biggest one.
Right?
He's
because
the
top one.
That's the one he obviously on front, like the Russell Brands, right? But they definitely know who we are, because there was this TYT guy I just ratioed to death over the Ukraine issue. And I didn't even know he was part of TYT. That someone sent me like, he's a TYT affiliate. And I just casually ratioed this fucking guy. And he went after me because, and he said in his tweet, he said that usually responding to these RBN guys is beneath me. And that's one of the reasons why he got ratioed. I may have to cover that because I didn't plan on covering that.
They're talking about us. They're talking about us, but they don't want people to know they're talking about us, Nick. We are like when you're coming in, when you come in and you're authentically speaking at the tone and using the words and the language of the working class that resonates, there's no getting around that. There's no like having something that's going to combat that. You have something that's fake, that's stimmy, that's pseudo left. We have something that's coming from the left, where you are left because of life experience, not because of theory. So it's a completely different sort of authenticity that we bring that they just can't shut down. And they know if once the door is open, once their audience knows about us, it's a wrap for them. Go ahead.
CJ, check this out. Since this is relevant to our topic of the professional managerial left is in shambles, because look, I didn't even notice this. Someone pointed this out to me afterwards. This guy, as seen on TYT in HuffPost. Wow. So this is a TYT guy, and look at his smug, classist attitude towards us. This is how they know who we are, and they hate our existence, CJ, because we are completely delegitimizing them. So look, listen to this. I don't know who this guy was. Had no idea who he was at all. But look, usually acknowledging LARPers like RBN is beneath me. Acknowledging us is beneath this guy. This guy who worked for HuffPost and TYT, correct? And this is the smug attitude, and this is the only way they can address our argument, by pretending that we're some sort of grifters or LARPers. LARPers of what? I'm going to promote this mutual aid I have coming up today. CJ will just had a mutual aid organization last month. I did more for the Bernie campaign than most people did, knocked on countless doors. I'm a founder of 10 Demands. What hoops do you got to jump through to go from LARPer to actual activist? I am a guy who did activism before, plans on doing activism in the future. That means I'm an activist. What part of that is LARPing? But they do that because they trying to delegitimize your status. Because they like, oh man, these RBN niggas are killing us. we got to smear them the same way we smear a Republican. So this is a TYT guy saying, usually acknowledging LARPers like RBN is beneath me, but the correct critique of Biden, because I called out Biden for saying no comment regarding Maui, Hawaii, but he's sending 2 times more money to Ukraine because he's part of the NATO left, so he hates that criticism that would trigger them. So he said, actually, the real critique, you fucking Putin apologist, the real critique that Fox News will never offer is that he's not doing enough to cut American carbon emissions. So this guy being part of the TYT left, being part of the dumb left, do not realize that the Ukraine war is one of the giant threats to our climate right now. And Joe Biden bombed the Nord Stream pipeline, making him one of the biggest eco-terrorists in human history. Like that, the disaster of the Nord Stream pipeline is going to destroy our environment. But these dumb leftists, like on the TYT network, they don't realize that. So they don't even connect those criticisms. And he said,
what do they say about that, Nick? What do they say about that? Since you kind of know what liberals say, what do they say about the Ukraine war and the Nord Stream pipeline and how it's polluting? And you're calling yourself a climate person. Like, what is their response to that? I ratio these people and they never respond. Like, for real, literally search my account and look how many times I call these people out for that. And they just don't respond. I'll just ratio them and they move on. And I'm going to show you for example, because it happens in this thread. It happens in this thread. I'm going to go down a little bit earlier. And this guy who was a defender of this guy, and look at this guy. This guy is an academic editor. So you guys see how the academics are teaming up against RBN? Another academic going after me and RBN. So this guy obviously not a follower. He's an academic. And they respond, fossil fuel industry subsidies aren't corruption. For one, this is an academic. But you guys see how dumb they are? Where did I say that? In my post at all. And I say here, this is what I post. I said OP claims, the original poster, claims he cares about climate change, but is weak on Democrats funding the Ukraine war. If you care about climate and you aren't calling out the Nord Stream bomber, you are deeply unserious. So you want to know his response, CJ, the academic guy? He said, yes, we all know the military-industrial complex is the biggest polluter. Yeah, we know that, Nick. God damn, why you keep bringing it up? We know that. So I say, if y'all know the military-industrial complex is the biggest polluter, why is that not the number one concern of progressives? Why is he mad? Because his criticism of RBN is we care too much about the Ukraine war, CJ. So you want to know what he says after I say these 2 points at him? The academic, the big brain thinker? Laugh out loud. All right. You guys see, and I'll bring this up to answer your question, CJ. They have nothing. When you bring up these facts, they always resort to the same shit. They just pretend they don't see you. In my original post, the original poster, the TYT guy never responded to my point about climate. He's like, oh, fuck. He one of the people that know stuff.